Today, communities under threat. Cyclone Alfred looms off the southeast Queensland coast, Brisbane in the firing line. Breaking news, the UK PM declares a crossroads in history as world leaders meet for crisis talks. Hit and run, a 14-year-old cyclist struck in Sydney's southwest. Financial overhaul, the historic changes coming to Australia's Reserve Bank. Wild arrest, vision emerges of police deploying their tasers on a Gold Coast beach. And the stage is set for the 97th Annual Oscar Awards. We are live to Hollywood today, Monday the 3rd of March 2025. Good morning and welcome to Today Early News. We will begin with a Today weather alert, and southeast Queensland is potentially in the direct firing line of Tropical Cyclone Alfred. The latest modelling showing a possible crossing through the heart of Brisbane in a matter of days. 9 Queensland reporter Claire Todd-Hunter has the details.
Tropical Cyclone Alfred making a beeline for the country's third biggest capital. Brisbane bracing for a potential direct hit. According to the track map, the system crossing through the heart of the city as high as a Category 2, on track to make landfall in the early hours of Thursday. The impacts of Alfred already being felt: abnormally high tides and damaging surf roughing up the southern Queensland coast, closing and eroding beaches from Wide Bay to the border, while on Gari, gale-force winds, concerns growing too for the Pumice-Stone Passage north of Brisbane, as the ocean pushes through a fragile protective sandbar on the northern tip of Bribie Island, exposing Golden Beach, where water has been seen lapping at a restaurant.
I'm mindful that there's a real challenge there because of how severe the breakthrough has been in recent times, and the prospect of those winds coupled with big tides. It's
as the Royal Australian Navy works to reach a Lithuanian rower caught up in the system in the Coral Sea while on a solo journey from San Diego to Brisbane since August, while southeast residents are urged to do what they can now to prepare their homes.
Like your gutters, things like removing loose items, that's all important. We're just asking people to just be prepared and heed the warnings, do what you can to get ready, and you need to know that we've done the same.
Several flood watches are already in place for southeast Queensland.
And that system is also expected to impact northern New South Wales. Strong winds and dangerous surf warnings in place for areas right down to Coffs Harbour. 200 to 500 millimetres of rain is expected on the southern side of the system, with major and moderate flood warnings in place for the northern rivers and mid-north coast. The AFL season opener could also be in doubt as Cyclone Alfred threatens to impact Brisbane. The Lions and Geelong are scheduled to play at the Gabba on Thursday as the league prepares to make a call on when and where the game will go if it gets postponed. A decision is expected in the coming days. We have some breaking news now, and the British Prime Minister has just declared we are at a crossroads in history as world leaders met for crisis talks on the war in Ukraine. Live to Nine's Europe correspondent Jessica Millward. Jess, Sir Keir Starmer says now is the time for Europe to step up.
Good morning, Jane. Very strong words from the UK Prime Minister, really reflecting the gravity of the situation at the conclusion of these hugely consequential talks that took place in central London. They've wrapped up in the past hour, and we heard from Sir Keir Starmer saying a coalition of the willing is going to be formed to try and navigate a path to peace for Ukraine. That is likely to be led by the French President and the UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, along with, of course, the consultation of Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. That will then be discussed to Donald Trump, because quite clearly the relationship between President Trump and President Zelensky is very strained. But the Ukraine leader was amongst friends today, speaking at this summit. What Sir Keir Starmer made very clear was it needs to be Europe's responsibility to protect Europe and its future, committing 5,000 more air defence missiles for Ukraine, and also repeating his pledge to put UK boots on the ground in a peacekeeping capacity if there is a deal. He was adamant it's not good enough for there just to be a peace deal. It needs to be an enduring one so that Russia can't invade the country again in the coming years. Let's now hear from the UK PM.
We are at a crossroads in history today. This is not a moment for more talk. It's time to act, time to step up and lead.
Very delicate diplomacy from Sir Keir Starmer, who has spoken to Donald Trump in the past 24 hours. President Zelensky has just touched down at the Sandringham estate and he's going to be meeting with King Charles. Quite remarkable, really, when you think the monarch usually stays well away from politics, but he will be meeting for President Zelensky for the second time since the war broke out. We'll have the very latest throughout the Today Show. Jane.
OK, Jess, thank you. Israel has blocked all humanitarian aid going into the Gaza Strip, saying the ceasefire will only continue if Hamas continues releasing hostages immediately. Hamas called the move blackmail and urged mediators to intervene, while Israel is demanding the group accept a US plan for extending the ceasefire for 6 weeks.
Are you going to give this ceasefire for free without hostages to be released? This is something we will not accept. So, yes, we are ready to negotiate on the second phase according to our principles.
Hamas says it is willing to free all remaining hostages, but only if Israel withdraws from the Strip and the ceasefire becomes permanent. Wild vision has gone viral online of police trying to arrest a man on a Gold Coast beach. It shows police using a taser before the outburst heads into the waters of Tallabudgera Creek on Friday. It's understood he managed to avoid arrest for up to 3 hours before finally being cuffed for behaving erratically in the water. One of the biggest overhauls of the Reserve Bank is getting underway this week. From today, interest rates will be set by a Monetary Policy Committee rather than the Reserve Bank Board. It was the key recommendation of an independent review, which will also see greater insight into how it thinks the economy is performing. A single rate cut has seen signs of recovery in the housing markets, according to new CoreLogic research. Melbourne's median house value rising 0.4%, but despite that increase, property value is still down over the past year. Sydney is also up in the past year, while numbers slowed in Brisbane and Perth. Australia has been given an inside look into the Prime Minister's love life. His fiancée, Jodie Hayden, telling 960 Minutes she made the first move. The pair met in 2020 when Hayden yelled out support for the PM's footy team before she slid into his DMs.
I mean, to all the single independent ladies out there, why can't we make the first move?
Yeah, the message that Jodie sent me was that we had a lot in common. South Sydney, support for the Labor Party, and I sent a message back saying, yep, but what's your position on craft beer? We met up at Young Henry's in Newtown for a beer on a Friday afternoon, and we just got on it.
History.
It just clicked.
Oh, well, as for when we can expect wedding bells, not until after the election. It is that time of year again. Hollywood is ready to party. The curtain will lift for the 97th Annual Academy Awards today as stars prepare to stroll the red carpet in the coming hours. Live now to 9's US correspondent Jonathan Kersley at the Dolby Theatre in the heart of Tinseltown. Jono, excitement is surely building.
Oh, excitement surely building. Have a look at Ginger Rogers' star here on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Because why would you want to be inside on the red carpet with some of the biggest A-listers in town when you can be out here in amongst the people? The stars will be arriving here shortly, making their way up that red carpet here at Hollywood Boulevard and Highland Avenue to go inside for an event that is so prestigious. Not even we could get an invite this year. But in all seriousness, last night a chance for some of the stars to let their hair down at some of the pre-Oscars parties. Adrian Brody nominated for Best Actor. He was there, so too Ralph Fiennes. We saw some of the other celebrities in and around America. Kim Kardashian also attending this party. But the Oscars themselves will get underway 11 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And it is going to be an absolutely huge show. When it comes to the best picture of the night, well, it is an absolutely jam-packed field. There are 10 in total. The Brutalist, that features Adrian Brody and Australian Guy Pearce, that goes in as one of the favourites. So too does Anora. Conclave has had a stellar awards season. It likely also very, very high in the mix. And there'll be a focus on the Aussies too, because there's a number of them nominated. I mentioned Guy Pearce. He's nominated Best Supporting Actor for the first time, his first Oscar for his role in The Brutalist. Adam Elliott and Liz Carney have also been nominated. nominated for the animated feature Memoir of a Snail. Greg Fraser, cinematographer, on June 2. He won his first with the first June, so he gets nominated again this time around, hoping to take away his second Oscar. And Maya Nip, a filmmaker, is nominated in the Best Short Documentary category. Conan O'Brien, the comic, will be the host for his first time. Remarkably, after decades in the business, he gets to strut his stuff inside the Dolby Theatre. He's already promised plenty of surprises, plenty of action, and the show gets underway a few hours from now. The stars, they'll be coming up there, and we might just wave at them, shout at them, see if we can say hello to them, see if they might wander up these paths of the Hollywood Boulevard, where we're here with the people of Hollywood.
You can only hope, Jono. I can't believe they couldn't get you a security clearance. Outrageous.
Can't win them all.
We'll check in with you again throughout the morning. Thank you. Let's get to today's top sports story now. And the Panthers headlined a blockbuster Vegas weekend, bringing rugby league to the US for a second year. The reigning premiers earned every part of their win against a gallant Sharks outfit, icing the game in the final moments.
16 away. See, it's been an exhilarating little period of football. Garner, Laurie! Dane Laurie scores for Penrith. They save the game at one end and maybe they win it at the other.
The Raiders took out the first fixture, Xavier Savage showing his speed under the bright lights, and the Gillaroos went wild, thrashing England 90 points to 4. Maroons' weapon Tamika Upton bookending the performance with 5 tries. Wow. Let's take a look at the temperatures across the country today. In Brisbane, it will be a top of 31 degrees with a possible shower. Sydney, 26 and a shower or two on the way. 28 in Canberra today, partly cloudy. Melbourne, 22 with clouds clearing. In Hobart, 21 degrees and partly cloudy. 30 degrees and sunny for Adelaide. Perth, 28 and partly cloudy. And in Darwin, 34 with some grey skies. Straight ahead on Today Early News, police are on the hunt for a Sydney driver after a nasty hit and run on a 14-year-old cyclist. Plus, from the Pope, the 88-year-old's hospital message to the world. And the stuff of nightmares, window washers dangling 78 stories above ground in New York City. Right across Australia, this is Today Early News on 9, and when you go, we're streaming on 9 Now. A 14-year-old cyclist has been seriously injured in a hit and run in Sydney's southwest. The teenager was riding an e-bike in Bass Hill when he was struck around 10:30. Police coming across the boy before they were told an unknown car had fled the scene after the crash. He was taken to Westmead Children's Hospital where he's being treated for leg and pelvic injuries. A man who allegedly attempted to flee police after an armed carjacking has been arrested after crashing in Western Sydney. The 23-year-old is accused of threatening a driver with a knife before taking their SUV in Auburn. Officers taking chase after spotting the vehicle in Lidcombe, which later smashed into a fence. No one was hurt. A warning now, some viewers may find the vision in this next story confronting. Support is being offered to a Queensland police officer who shot a machete-wielding man on the Gold Coast. The injured man remains in a stable condition this morning after investigators say he allegedly came at the senior officer with 2 blades. Following earlier reports, he was armed with a chainsaw.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I cannot believe we just watched that. I'm still shaking, yeah. Just like a lot of adrenaline.
The incident is now under review by the Ethical Standards Command. Adelaide Oval is at the centre of a battle of sporting codes. It comes as South Australian cricket is lobbying the AFL to host the Sheffield Shield final at the Oval later this month. Currently, the Shield final overlaps with the Crows' round 3 fixture on Sunday, March 30. It is expected to require around-the-clock effort to turn the Adelaide Oval from footy to cricket and then back again in just 8 days. 2/3 of voters want an Australian Prime Minister who can handle the nation's relationship with the United States. New polling shows 63% think managing associations with US President Donald Trump is important. 31% say opposition leader Peter Dutton is the best fit for that job, compared to Anthony Albanese on 22%. Pope Francis has shared a message from hospital thanking people for their prayers and his medical team for their care. Live to Europe correspondent Hannah Sinclair in Rome. Hannah, the Pope also says he's praying for world peace.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning to you, Jane. Pope Francis has just spent his 17th day in hospital, and for the third week in a row he was absent here at St Peter's Square, where he usually today would have recited prayers in person to worshippers. So instead, the Vatican has shared a message from him. The Pope saying, "I am still sending you these thoughts from the hospital, accompanied by doctors and healthcare professionals whom I thank for the attention with which they are taking care of me. I feel in my heart the blessing that is hidden within frailty. I would like to thank you for the prayers. I feel all your affection and closeness. I pray for you too, and I pray above all for peace. From here, war appears even more absurd." He then asked for everyone to pray for several countries currently at war. The Pope also received a visit from two top Vatican officials today, and we have just received an update. He remains in a stable condition, but the Vatican still isn't revealing his prognosis. Jane?
OK, Hannah, thank you. Almost 2 years into treatment, former Joint Australian of the Year, Professor Richard Scolyer, has revealed his brain tumour could be growing back. The pathologist telling the Sydney Morning Herald the radiotherapy he's already received could also have impacted his brain function. He will undergo surgery today. Midnight Oil frontman Peter Garrett has come under fire over comments he made at his Perth concert. The environmentalist and former politician telling the crowd to pretend they were, quote, dancing on Gina Rinehart's grave.
As a former Member of Parliament and as a minister, he should know that that sort of language is completely inappropriate.
The Perth Festival, which hosted the show, has defended Garrett's right to artistic expression. Terrifying vision has emerged of two window washers stuck 78 levels above the ground in Manhattan as their scaffolding swings wildly in the wind. They smashed into the side of the building, sending glass raining down onto the road. The pair was taken to hospital after New York officials managed to rescue them from the air. A private lunar spacecraft has successfully landed on the moon, carrying 10 experiments for NASA. Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost lander is heading towards the slopes of an ancient volcanic dome on the moon. It also carried a vacuum to suck up moon dirt for analysis. Coming up on Today Early News, Demons fans rejoice as a star returns in stellar form. Plus, the Mitchell brothers both out in a wounded Rabbitohs side, and the bombshell plans for a new Olympic sport at Brisbane 2032. Welcome back to Today Early News. Our top stories direct from the 9 newsroom this Monday. Tropical cyclone Alfred is threatening communities across the southeast Queensland coast. The Category 1 system is expected to make landfall in Brisbane this week. A 14-year-old cyclist has been hospitalised with serious injuries after a hit and run in Sydney. Police are now hunting the driver. And the biggest names in Hollywood will hit the red carpet today for the 97th Academy Awards. Sport now, and a big name is back for the AFL. Christian Petrarca making his return after life-threatening injuries last season. The Star Demon right in the thick of it, racking up 33 disposals like he never left. Strong signs for Melbourne and the 29-year-old.
For track as well, it's been a really tough time for him. To see him play the way he did, it's a credit to him because he's had to sort of jump through a few mental hoops as well. It hasn't been easy for him, but obviously he's come back in fantastic condition. And
it wasn't all perfect for the 2021 Premiers, going down by 19 points to Fremantle. To NRL now, and another Mitchell is out for the Rabbitohs. 29-year-old Shaq sidelined with a serious hamstring injury for what could be 12 weeks. Mitchell damaged the hamstring during the All-Stars game as alarms sound at Souths before the season even begins. He joins a host of injuries at the club, headlined by his brother Latrell and captain Cam Murray. Waratahs flyer Joseph Swali'i has been delayed in his Super Rugby comeback. The toe injury has ruled the fullback out of the club's clash against the Reds on March 15. Coach Dan McKellar said it could be a few weeks until the star returns, with the Tars to take on the Force this weekend. Stay with us. Coming up, the sport that wants to be part of the 2032 Brisbane Games. And then it is time for Today, but first, your local weather forecast. This is Today Early News, live on 9 and 9 Now. Now, before we get to the weather, touch football could be the newest Olympic sport. Touch leaders teaming up with NRL bosses in calling for the country's biggest social sport to be included in Brisbane 2032. It boasts 700,000 participants in Australia alone and is played across more than 40 countries, close to the 50-country entry requirement. Let's take a look at today's weather now. Brisbane can expect a top of 31 degrees alongside some showers. Sydney 26, also expecting a bit of rain. 28 in Canberra and partly cloudy. Melbourne 22 with clouds clearing. Hobart 21 and some grey skies ahead. Adelaide 30 degrees and blue skies. Partly cloudy and 28 in Perth. Darwin 34 degrees and also partly cloudy. It is coming up on 5:30 now.